My name is Michael Carter, and everything I build comes from love. I'm not a contractor, not an engineer, just a dad who likes creating things with his kids. Last summer, my 2 children, Lily and Jake, wanted a treehouse. Nothing fancy, just a wooden platform where they could play pirates, read books, and pretend the world was theirs. So we spent weekends cutting wood, hammering nails, and laughing under the big oak tree in our backyard. By the end of 2 weeks, it wasn't perfect. The roof leaned a little, the paint was uneven, but to my kids, it was a castle. And every night, they'd climb up, read their favorite books, and fall asleep under the stars. Until one morning, I found a white envelope taped to my door. Notice of violation, unsafe structure on property. At first, I thought it was a mistake. The letter came from the HOA. They claimed the treehouse was structurally unsound and in violation of community safety regulations. It also said that if I didn't remove it within 10 days, I'd face a $1,000 fine. I called the HOA office immediately. A man named Greg, the kind of person who sounded like he enjoyed reading rulebooks for fun, answered. "Mr. Carter," he said, "your structure exceeds height limits and lacks professional inspection. It's unsafe and non-compliant." I said, "Greg, it's a treehouse. For kids, it's safe. I built it myself." He sighed. "I'm sure your intentions were good, but rules are rules. Please remove it before we escalate the matter." And just like that, he hung up. My daughter Lily was standing behind me the whole time. She looked up with tears in her eyes and whispered, "Dad, are they going to take our treehouse away?" I didn't have the heart to answer. That night, I sat outside under the oak tree. The moonlight shined through the branches, and I stared at that little wooden fort, every plank, every screw, remembering the laughter that built it. And that's when an idea hit me. If they said it was unsafe, I'd make it unshakably safe. If they said it violated community rules, I'd make it something the whole community needed. The next morning, I started sketching. I contacted a friend, David, a licensed carpenter. Together, we reinforced the structure, new beams, steel brackets, even a small staircase instead of a ladder. We added safety rails, sealed the wood, and painted everything with weatherproof coating. Then, I called the city's inspection department. I requested a voluntary safety inspection for an outdoor play structure. After reviewing it, the city inspector signed off, safe for recreational and educational use. That last part, educational use, gave me an idea that would turn the HOA's entire argument upside down. A week later, I went to the local library with my kids. We donated a few of their old books and asked if they'd support a neighborhood reading nook. The librarian smiled. "We've been wanting to expand into community spaces. Would you like to register it as a free public library site?" She handed me a small metal sign that read, "Little Free Library, officially registered 16,209. That was it. The treehouse wasn't just a play space anymore, it was a public library. We filled it with children's books, short novels, and even a few old classics. A small wooden sign hung on the railing. "Take a book, leave a book, everyone welcome." The neighborhood kids loved it. Every afternoon, they'd come by with books, climb the stairs, and read together inside the little wooden fort. Parents stopped to chat, strangers dropped off novels. The sound of laughter and turning pages filled our yard again. For a while, everything was perfect. Until Greg came back. He showed up one evening, wearing his HOA badge like he was on official business. "Mr. Carter," he said, "I see the structure is still standing. I hope you have a good explanation." I smiled. "Actually, Greg, I do. It's now a registered public library. Here's the paperwork from the city and the library council." He blinked, confused. "A what?" "A free public library," I said, handing him the documents. It's safe, inspected, city approved, and open to everyone. So technically, it's a community asset, not a private structure. He stared at the paperwork, speechless. Finally, he muttered, "We'll review this." 2 days later, I got another letter. After review, the HOA cannot enforce removal of a city-approved public library. The matter is closed. That was it. We won. But it didn't stop there. A local reporter got wind of the story. Dad turns HOA fight into neighborhood library. They came out to film, showing kids reading in the treehouse, parents smiling, and the library sign glinting in the sunlight. The video went viral, hundreds of thousands of views in a week. People loved it. They said it was the most wholesome act of rebellion they'd ever seen. The following month, something incredible happened. A few neighbors asked if I could help them build their own reading spots. Soon, we had 5 more little free libraries across the neighborhood. Even Greg, yes, that Greg, came by one day with his granddaughter. She climbed up the steps, picked out a book, and giggled the whole time. Greg looked at me and said quietly, "You know, Carter, I guess not all rules are worth fighting for." I laughed. Sometimes the best rules are the ones we make together. Now every weekend, my yard fills with families. Kids sit under the tree reading stories, parents sip coffee, and the air is full of warmth. We added fairy lights around the branches, solar panels for soft night lighting, and a tiny mailbox for book returns. The HOA never bothered us again. In fact, this year, they even featured the Treehouse Library in their neighborhood newsletter, calling it a symbol of creativity and community spirit. Last week, as I was tucking my daughter into bed, she said something that made it all worth it. She whispered, "Dad, you didn't just build a treehouse, you built a story that everyone gets to be part of." And she was right. Because sometimes the best stories don't come from books. They come from people who refuse to let rules take away joy. And every time I see kids climbing that old oak tree, carrying books and laughter, I realize that little library isn't just a place to read. It's proof that kindness, creativity, and love will always find a way to grow.